All right, welcome to another episode of
Mrs. Magera learns stuff.
Learns
Or
stuff.
she doesn't. But I'm ready to go.
Or she doesn't. Hopefully you do today, because today we're learning about the Roman Empire. So very exciting.
I'm excited.
details.
I have my brain on. I have my Grey's Anatomy shirt on.
Glad you have your
fans.
brain on. You know you really can't turn your brain off, but that's
You don't
at least
know.
you have to.
You don't know.
You'd be dead.
You don't. You don't know.
All right, so let's get started. So we're gonna start off at the very beginning of Rome. So Rome started out as a republic.
Is this after or before Greece or at the same time?
So this is after Greece. We talked about Greece and Alexander the Great, right? He
Yes.
conquered all these things. Well, then it breaks apart in 4 pieces, okay? So his empire breaks apart into these pieces, each controlled by a general.
Oh, Rome is... Got it. Okay,
Rome is
so
a-
it was Greece, but now it's Rome.
No. I'm sorry.
Oh.
I'm trying to confuse it. Rome was not one of the pieces. So, but that's the world we're at now, okay? It's all these generals having different pieces of
So Greece
Alexander's
isn't
empire.
as powerful as what you're saying.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of
Okay.
different pieces of it.
I'm,
yeah.
I'm on the track. We're on the train. Let's go.
Okay, let's get going. Choo choo. So it started out as a small city in Italy. Makes sense. You can still go to Rome today. It's still a city. So it starts as a city, and this is a very impressive city because this city isn't going to stay a city for very long. Eventually, it's going to conquer most of the known world during this time.
Okay.
So a very think of the Rome as kind of like the A+ student in class. It's like, sure, I'm going to do my best and do everything right. And the first government was a republic.
It's the Yashin of the... Just kidding, Yashin.
Yes,
But you
the
are an A+
Jaiji or
students, that's
Yashin of
good.
the- yeah,
You
of the
all
world.
are A+ students in
Yes.
my mind.
But it was a republic. So Rome started out as a republic. And this is important because the way a republic works is that you elect representatives. And they elected senators. That word sounds familiar. It's because we still have senators to this day in so many countries.
Love that.
Yeah. And these senators would make decisions for the people. And so it started out as this republic. So this brand new
So
form of
it would be
government.
like in
Pretty
our
great.
Stuco, it would be like the people that were voted to be the class representative.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
the senators.
They are the representatives, which is why it's called a republic. So Stuco is a republic.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't have that much power. But
I don't
we
know
are a
who your
republic.
senator is. Is it Yashin? No, she's secretary.
That's a representative, but yeah, we call them representatives, but yeah, same sort of thing. But Rome would quickly begin to change. First
it's
of all,
Micah. Sorry, shout out to Micah. Okay, go on.
okay, Rome would use its army to make a huge empire. So it would conquer a ton of land. You can see all this land here that it would conquer. So that includes Spain, Portugal, France, most of England, all of Italy, Greece, Macedonia, Serbia, Turkey, most of Egypt. So mass countries were all controlled by Rome. This is how giant the empire had gotten. One of the biggest empires to ever exist by land, population, all that.
And this is Julius Caesar.
Well, we'll talk about that. So it conquers a lot of these things, but eventually it's going to change. It's not going to still be a republic because Julius Caesar. He comes along. This is a little bust, which is a statue of like the head. That's what a bust is.
Okay.
Not anything
Is that
else.
what he looked like?
Yes, we think as
Wow.
best we can get. Yeah.
Very manly.
So he was emperor. Okay, and he ends up taking control, and he makes a line of emperors. Okay, so now Rome, after Julius Caesar, is not going to be a republic. Instead, it's going to be controlled by a bunch of emperors.
Okay, is an emperor like a king where it's like your son
Yes.
becomes the emperor? It's not
Yes.
elected.
Usually, no, it's not elected. No, they would take your son or someone would take control. There's a lot of civil wars often to see who could take control because there's a lot of power there. And these emperors were called Caesars. Okay, so Caesars. They
Like
were the
Caesar
ones-
Augustus in the Bible.
Yes, so these were there. That's what the title because they're naming themselves after Julius Caesar because they all want to be associated with him because he's such
He's
a
the
powerful.
OG.
He is. He's the OG. He's like the cool man. Everyone's like, dude, this guy did it
He's
first. I
like
wanna be
the
like him."
Beyonce of his time.
I mean, yes, except he didn't have like a Lemonade album or anything like that.
The fact that you knew that it was called Lemonade, I give you snaps.
Thanks. All right. So they would use their army. Here's some soldiers. They would conquer a bunch of land. The emperors were now in charge. Jesus would also live during this time. So the whole New Testament happens during the Roman time. So that's all just
Oh,
gave you some
really?
perspective. Yep. So let's go on.
So it was like Caesar Augustus. That was the Caesar when Jesus was born.
Yes. So Roman contributions. Okay.
I
so
know what these things are.
Romans, that's good because they're contributions that we have today. So Rome had a lot of contributions, which is basically things they gave to us today, things that we still use that they came up with. And one of these is the aqueduct, and this is a picture of an aqueduct right here. An aqueduct basically takes water and brings it long distance into cities, okay? Because
Isn't
cities
that
didn't
a
have enough
canal?
water. Kind of, except they would build them in the sky. So you know how we have telephone wires?
Yes.
Imagine that, except they carried water. And these things were so wonderfully engineered because they could only use gravity. They didn't have any power. That they would go miles, and each mile would only be going down an inch. So they had it so perfectly engineered that the gravity would only go down an inch, and they could take water that
And the
far.
Romans made this.
Yes, and these are still standing. So 2,000 years after the Romans,
they
these
use
things are still
them?
standing. They do not use them now because they're just kind of there. But this
They
allowed
are
them
pretty.
to get huge cities. Rome was actually, this is a crazy fact, Rome was the first city to ever reach 1 million people. And after Rome, no city would ever reach 1 million people until London in the 1800s. So for
Wow.
1,800 years after Rome, no one would get this population size. Of Rome.
What year are we dealing with right now?
This is between 100 BC to 470 AD.
Oh, okay.
So about 500 years there.
So they
right?
were a big
Yeah.
chunk.
Big chunk, yeah. They built large road systems to help their army move, and these roads are still there today, once again, so very lasting. These are a picture of the road that's still there today. So they built all these roads. They also came up with an arch. You can see these arches in the Colosseum.
I was going to say, this is the Colosseum. This is where the Gladiator, the movie, they were in the Colosseum.
Yes, and lots of gladiators were fought in this. This is in Rome. You can still go see it. Some of the walls fallen off, as you can see, but it's still ginormous. A huge stadium.
Very pretty.
Yeah. The Republican form of government is very important. Most governments today are republics. They kind of take the democracy idea from Greece and combine it with republics from Rome, and they've made the world today. Roman numerals, we see these everywhere, from the years to just, saying the third, the second, comes from Rome, which is why they're called Roman numerals and not,
Why did they create
Serbian
their
numerals.
own? Why did they create their own numbers but not their own language?
They did have their own language. They used Latin. But the problem is that, we talked about Alexander the Great and how his ideas became so popular.
Yes.
And spreading Greek and everything like that. Well, because everyone already spoke Greek, they didn't really want to learn Latin. So Greek really still remained the main language.
So it was like the English of back then.
Greek,
Like now a lot
yes.
of people speak
Yeah.
English, but
So
back then everyone was
imagine,
speaking English.
imagine if Portugal takes over the world, but everyone's still speaking English, and we're like, we already spent the time to learn English, so I'm not going to learn Portuguese.
Oh, that's
so
a
that's
very
what they did with,
good. That's a very
Yeah, except Portugal would never take over the world. Anyways, they also invented concrete. So concrete is another important thing they made.
Hey, we use that all the time.
Yep, and they would use it to the building construction. So they were expert builders. Think about construction.
There wasn't
They
like
did
one
things well.
famous, like how Socrates and all of them were like famous philosophers. There's not like a famous engineer.
Not really, no. They have some famous people who ask questions and stuff like that, like Pliny the Elder, Pliny the Younger. They wrote encyclopedias and stuff like that. And they have the first novels being written, but they don't really have a big thinker. They weren't really known for great thinkers. They're more military people who were really good at taking care of the territory they controlled
And making stuff.
and building things. Yeah, to take control of it. Yeah. So those are the contributions of the Roman, which bring us to the last segment of our show, which I know you're all looking forward to. It is
Mrs. Magera's tea. Today we have, what's it called? Ceylon tea, iced tea, because I love iced tea with some sugar. It's from Sri Lanka. Did I say that right? Sri
Yeah, Sri
Lanka?
Lanka.
Sri Lanka. So today, let me tell you, the Romans were a little bit, there were some salty people, and they were shady as heck. They were shady. Okay, so there's this one emperor. His name was Nero. But I think I'm
Yeah.
kind of dealing with
almost
of the Roman fall. I think
Nero
Nero
you're
is
280. You're still good.
Oh, okay. So there's Nero, and he is famous for something. Do you know what it is?
Burning down Rome.
Yes, but okay. So this is what the story is, that he burned down Rome, but
The city
as
Rome, not the empire, the
Yeah,
city,
not the
yeah.
empire, the city Rome. And as it was burning, he was sitting outside playing a fiddle, and singing because it was
Yeah.
going down. So everyone was like, "Oh my word, Nero is the absolute worst." But
Yeah.
it was later, you didn't think I was going to fact check. I fact checked it. It was later proven that the emperor after him, but there was 4 emperors that came right after him, so we're not 100% sure which emperor, but he actually made it up for propaganda. Vocab word was propaganda mean, Mr. Magera.
It means when the government makes its own news kind of
Yes,
thing.
they're trying to make Nero look bad.
Yeah.
But the funny, shady part of this story is the fiddle wasn't even made yet. So they created this lie that Nero was outside playing a fiddle, but the fiddle wasn't even made yet.
But you know what? This is the crazy part, though. That after Rome burned, he built his palace from all the burnt land. So he's like, "Oh, look, all this burnt area," and he built his palace there.
Dude,
So.
Nero, you get cheers for being shady. That's just a shady guy.
Shady
but the
cheers.
guy after you was also shady.
And so the moral of today's lesson is don't be shady like Nero.
Don't be shady. And that's the tea. Bye,
Bye, guys.
guys.